Archives of Prasar Bharati presents the timeless treasure of golden era.
Art is the reshaping of reality by man to present it in an understandable way. As the artist recreates the world around him, it is shaped by how he sees it and what he believes in. The Indian artist did not attempt to depict only the material reality around him. He wished to share the complete experience of the moment, not just the photographic presentation of the shapes around him. Beauty for the Indian artist has been a reflection of the glory of God. In fact, for the ancient artist, the experience of beauty, the ecstasy on seeing nature or art which is truly beautiful, has been considered as akin to Brahmanand or the final bliss. Join us on this journey into the heart of the Indian tradition of painting. Come with us to the gorge of the Vaghora river, where Ajanta was created, to the courts of the Mughals and the Deccan Sultans. Journey with us through the deserts of Rajasthan and the icy lands of Ladakh and Lahaul Spiti. In the verdant south and in the gentle hills of the north, experience the compassionate view of life that is enshrined in Indian painting.
The first millennium in India saw the making of some of the most beautiful mural paintings of the world. These were splendid visions of the sacred beliefs of this subcontinent, which wreathed the walls of ancient caves and temples. The second millennium brought a change in emphasis from these grand murals upon the walls to the delicate beauty of miniature paintings across the length and breadth of India.
There is a sense of awe as we stand facing the mural. The men and women are as large as us, and they have behind them the solidness and permanency of massive temples or the heart of the mountain. Even day-to-day themes take on a certain significance when we see them like this.
The miniature painting is something we take in our hands. We hold it close to us and with care, as it is fragile.
You took a painting in your hand. You held it at a distance of about 12 to 14 inches from the eyes, at an angle of about 70 degrees, and you read a painting from top to bottom, right to left, left to right, like you read from a book. And when you do that, and this is the context for which they were meant, when you do that, then a totally different feeling comes across. A sense of intimacy is established. A one-to-one relationship between the viewer and the work of art is established. Then you hear whispers. Then alone can you hear the painter think and talk.
It is our care and attention which makes the world of these paintings reveal itself to us. There is an intimate relationship which we feel even with the gods who are presented to us in these miniatures. The early manuscripts in India were written on rectangular palm leaves. These were religious texts, and they were illustrated with beautiful paintings. The earliest religious manuscripts were of the Buddhist and Jain faiths. The earliest surviving palm leaf paintings in India are believed to be of the 10th century, from the Pal kingdom of eastern India. In the Vajrayana form of Buddhism, the many deities depicted different aspects of the Buddha. These paintings were immensely important as they provided images for the worshipper to meditate upon. The books themselves became the objects of veneration. From the grand world of the murals of Ajanta to the intimate one of the parlour manuscript paintings, the sense which is conveyed is the same. It is a world of gentleness, of thoughtful expressions and peace, which communicates itself to the onlooker. Another great body of miniature paintings was that of the Jain faith. In the early period, these were very similar to the Buddhist paintings of the Pala kingdom. By the 14th century, the Jain paintings had developed a very distinctive character. Paper was introduced in India as early as the 12th century, and it became popular for the making of manuscripts only by the 14th century. The coming of paper created flexibility in the shape and size of the painted format. With time, it changed from the narrow horizontal shape to the vertical one. New pigments began to be used. The Jain paintings present us some of the earliest manifestations of a new style of painting, which spread to every corner of India and even other countries of Asia. They are lively and vibrant. With animated gestures and rhythmic movements, the figures possess a life of their own. We see the movement from the naturalistic figures of the Pala paintings, with their sinuous and graceful forms, to a greater abstraction in the Jain paintings. Colours are laid out boldly in flat planes, with a fine sense of design in these works. We see the tradition of painting in India charting a new course from the ancient to the medieval idiom. Instead of the earlier emphasis on three-dimensionality, which was achieved by the use of light and dark tones and colour modelling, the style now becomes predominantly linear. The features of the figures are angular, and we see a protrusion of the further eye beyond the line of the face. This is a convention which is common to many Indian paintings and other Asian paintings influenced by Indian styles in the medieval period. Vast numbers of manuscripts were painted, as it was a meritorious act to commission the making of these illustrated manuscripts, which preserved and transmitted the thoughts of the Jain tradition. The 12th century in India saw the spread of the Bhakti movement, which transformed the art and culture of the land. The cult of intense personal devotion to the Lord led to a profusion of literature and poetry. The themes were that of the love and yearning of the human soul for the Almighty, and this was represented through myriad stories and images of love upon this earth. A number of Hindu texts were illustrated in what came to be known as the Western Indian style of painting. The Bal Gopal Stuti, or the Tales of Krishna, as a baby, was one such text. From the Jain or Western Indian style of painting also emerged the style which came to be known as the Chaur Panchashika. These were illustrations of the 54 verses sung by a poet to his beloved. This style was to become the basis of the widespread schools of Rajasthani miniature paintings which were to come in later centuries.
This Western Indian style led to what are called the paintings of the Chaura Panchashaka group, with the greatest examples of it being the Bhagavad Puran, showing a transformation again of the ancient Indian traditions, but closely related to it.
In the medieval period, there was an outpouring of poetry on the theme of love. The Geet Govind, the Bhagavad Puran, the Rasik Priya, the Ras Manjari, the Sat Sai, and many others. All these themes were depicted in exquisite detail in paintings which were made through the medieval period all across India. These miniatures provide us a tradition of interwoven words and paintings. The thoughts and ideas reach us through an intimate association of the two.
Then he went well beyond what the text told him to do. The text was only an occasion, a peg to hang his own ideas upon.
The advent of the Muslim Sultanate in northern India created a fertile ground for the meeting of two cultures. The Delhi Sultanate, founded in the beginning of the 13th century by Qutbuddin Aibak, saw the coming and going of different rulers, chiefly Turks and Afghans. Paintings and even painters who came from Persia brought with them new sensibilities and images which took root in Indian soil. The Shahnama, the anthology of the kings of Persia, and the new literature, which was now illustrated in India, called for the development of a new language in painting. The painted figures of these kings and heroes take on the features and the sense of animated movement, which were the conventions of the Jain manuscript paintings. The meeting which took place under the Delhi Sultans of the indigenous artistic influences and those of Persia prepared the ground for one of the most glorious traditions of miniature painting that was to follow, that of the Mughals. Independent kingdoms such as Gujarat, Malwa and Jaunpur, which came under the sway of the Sultanate Empire from time to time, became flourishing centers of art. Paintings on the theme of divine love were executed in large numbers in these areas. The legend of Lor and Chanda found expression in many exquisite folios depicting the love between the mystic and his divine beloved. The paintings are delightful in their simple yet striking compositions. Stories and legends are communicated through paintings with bright colors and a marvelous sense of design. In the Deccan, the paintings of Ajanta had laid a tradition of the finest and gentlest thoughts. In the medieval period, this tradition was gathered and taken forward by the Bhakti movement, where the followers believed in an intense devotion and love of God. When the Sufis arrived here from Persia, they found a ground that was richly fertile for their own thoughts of mystic and divine love. The coming together of these two streams created an art and culture of a rare and heady potency. The fantasy and lyrical grace of Persia are to be seen in the exquisite paintings which were begun in the Deccan. Even while the Mughal paintings charted their own course in the north, the Deccan developed an idiom in painting which had a different spirit.
Among the greatest of the Indian patrons was Ibrahim Adil Shah II, who ruled from 1587 to 1627, a contemporary of Akbar and Jahangir. But in fact, in a way, he was a greater patron of Indian painting compared to these rulers, because they had certain protocols. Although Jahangir praised his painters, but no painter had the permission to sit, even come near to him. He may say he was a patron, but Ibrahim Adil Shah was a patron of a different class. When Khalilullah, the court calligrapher, wrote the manuscript Kitab-e-Norus for him, he made him sit on the throne for some time. That was the latest. No Mughal ruler would have done that. And in quality also, the liveliness and refinement in some of the paintings, although the number is very little, perhaps because of the wars, they are in no way inferior to the Mughal paintings of the contemporary period.
1526 was a year which changed the political map of India. It was also a major landmark in the development of Indian miniature painting. It was the year of the advent of Babur, the founder of the Mughal dynasty. He was a descendant of the great Timur of Central Asia. The dynasty he founded created new themes and new styles in the paintings of India.
His son Humayun, who went into exile in Iran and then brought back from his exile some of the greatest Persian court artists, Abd as-Samad and Mir Said Ali particularly, he brought to Mughal painting the kind of refinement which remains astounding to us. He brought the technical brilliance which had been developed at the Safavid court, and before that the Timurid court, and these hugely enriched the tradition of painting under the Mughals.
Akbar was one of the greatest kings in the history of India. He was cosmopolitan and a philosopher. Painters from all over India flocked to the court of Akbar. Under him, the artistic influences coming from Persia met those of India in a rare and fruitful confluence. The emperor's own vision and modernity of thought led to entirely new directions in painting. New subjects were painted for the first time, and a new manner and approach was adopted. In the philosophy of ancient India, the material world was an illusion. The painter always presented us that which was beyond the ephemeral reality of this world. Under Akbar, we see the first major body of art in India which concerned itself with the here and now, with the representation of the king, the life of the court, and the battles and triumphs of the ruler.
On the other hand, the other aspect of Indian painting one could think of as the observed sort, and Mughal painting, for instance, is the best example probably of that. And those pictures are by highly sensitive artists who have been asked to and urged to by their patrons, and who have been brought up to be greatly interested in human personality and the real world, in landscape, in trees, and flowers, and all of these things. And certainly some of the most perceptive portraits that one finds in painting in the world are Indian portraits. And some of the most extraordinary studies of birds and animals and studies of trees are the work of Indian artists. These things rank with the best of the pictures by Dürer and by Leonardo da Vinci and by the Western artists whom we all of course also greatly admire.
This documentation and glorification of individuals and contemporary events was a major shift in the basis and content of the paintings of India. These changes were to have a deep and long-lasting impact. Jahangir and Shah Jahan, who followed Akbar, took the art of painting to a rarefied realm of bejeweled perfection. Some of the vigor of the paintings under Akbar was no longer there, but the jewel-like brilliance was unmistakable. The influence of the Mughal court dominated the whole of India and shaped the art of the courts spread across the whole subcontinent.
The great power of the Mughal court was such that when it received the rise and Rajas and Maharajas and Nawabs and various other rulers who were the feudatories of the Mughals, those people saw Mughal art and they were impressed by it, and that was, after all, the art of the great power, and therefore very often they were interested in producing works of art at their courts which were comparable.
In the many courts and principalities of Rajasthan, miniature paintings were made in large numbers. The early schools present a very vital and simple expression, which is closely reminiscent of the Chaur Panchashika style and Jain manuscript paintings. These paintings continue the epic themes and the themes of divine love of the Bhakti tradition. The chieftains of Rajasthan interacted very closely with the Mughal court, and gradually we see the influence of the Imperial court shaping the styles of painting in Rajasthan.
The whole idea of portraying an actual person, painting a portrait of a living person as opposed to just painting a picture of a god or a religious story was quite new in the 17th century in India. It was something that was actually introduced, of course, by the Mughals, who in turn really got it from Europe. And it was when the Rajput rulers were serving at the Mughal court that they became exposed to this whole idea of portraiture and the whole concept of what you might call documentary painting, instead of illustrating the religious texts, which is something that had been going on already for several hundred, if not 1,000 years. Now they were thinking that they could start actually depicting themselves and their colleagues and their families in actual documents that depicted them as they really were, although obviously with a little flattering embellishment usually.
The Rajput painters take the Mughal idiom and shape it with their own unique sensibilities. Each kingdom developed its own pictorial idiom which was steeped in the flavor of the region. The traditions of painting of the plains of Rajasthan travelled with Rajput chieftains and with painters into the hills of present-day Himachal Pradesh. Here, amidst the beauty of the gentle hills and the many flowering trees, the paintings present an enchanted world. There is in them a deep religiosity and a lyrical appreciation of the beauty of nature.
Personally, it's really the Rajput paintings that grab me. The color combinations, but also the subject matter. The emphasis on human emotion is so wonderful in Rajput painting. And everything in the paintings is manipulated to emphasize the situations in any given situation. The the romantic heroines and what they're wearing and where they're sitting and the trees around them and all of the birds and flowers around them and how the birds and flowers are posed. Every element, no matter how small, is manipulated in order to underscore the final emotional message of the painting.
The painter is deeply inspired by his traditional themes, and his skill has acquired a sure confidence, with the technical excellence coming to him from the Mughal court.
These paintings speak directly to people across cultures and across time because they deal with such fundamentally human subjects. The love of parents for children, the love of a child for a mother, watching Yashoda look into Krishna's mouth and accuse him of eating mud, and instead finding there the entire universe. I think everyone is caught in that spell who sees these pictures.
The ancient murals brought us a representation of the deep philosophy of this land, presented in grand visions upon the wall. From the beginning of the second millennium, the emphasis shifted to the intimate world of miniature paintings. The gentleness and grace and the tender thoughts of traditional Indian themes were deeply suited to this intimate medium. The Mughal court contributed a high degree of technical excellence to the tradition of the miniatures. Indeed, the best of Mughal paintings are like burnished jewels, which are dazzling in their brilliance. As always, the finest paintings were created when the spirit took wings and the vision of man rose to great heights of ecstatic expression. When the beauty of the world around and the beauty of the soul within mingled so deeply that one could not be distinguished from the other.